Hi, I'm Chelly Wood and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful evening gown for DC superhero Supergirl dolls and similar size, usually 10-inch dolls. Before we begin, please go to my website, chellywood.com, to download this free 2-page pattern, which is available for A4 and American printers. Use the pattern to cut out all the pieces shown here, paying attention to the following instructions. Okay, this is usually the case with patterns, but it's especially important with this pattern that when you're laying your pieces out, that you don't turn them upside down. They need to be exactly this way, especially if you're working with a fabric that has a wrong side and a right side. You're either going to cut out all the pieces wrong side up, or you're going to cut them all the pieces right side up. But you want to make sure that you don't do this, because if you do, there's going to be an issue later on. Before you unpin your pattern pieces, clip the garment pieces in advance like you see me doing right here. Next, I want to talk about where these black lines enter into the seam. You need to clip those. So I'm going to turn this sideways a little bit so you can see I've clipped this one. Okay, and I just clipped it while it was still in the pattern. I reached in there with my little mini snips and gave it a quick snip like that. So I'll show you what I mean. You can just leave it pinned to the fabric, but I'm going to take that pin out because that one's just in not the right spot. But you can often just leave it pinned, and you just get your scissors right where they're supposed to line up with that, and then you give it a little snip. And then when you look at it, if you say, well, that's not very deep, you can snip it a little bit more. And you need to do that up here as well, because I won't go back and clip those seams. So I'm going to just reach in under the pattern paper. I think all of us know that you don't want to cut paper with your scissors, only fabric. And that way we're ready for the step when we come to it where we have to fold these pieces back. When I clip my garment pieces or seams, I prefer to use Fiskars Stitcher's mini scissors. And if you need a pair, there's a helpful link to Fiskars Stitchers below. Before we go on, let's confirm our pieces have been cut correctly. If you've cut these out correctly, then when you turn this, it will fit perfectly against the dress left back piece. So that's why it's very important that you cut them all facing up. Even though some of my patterns will just say cut 4, this is a unique pattern because this piece and that piece are not identical. They're actually a little bit different, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so they look identical. They look very much the same, but you can see there's an extension that comes out here for the back closure. And so if I lay these one on top of the other, you'll see that this one's a little bit extended more. Clip the bottom of the left back lining like this. Baste stitch these clipped bits in place, and if you need help with basting, I have a tutorial for that. Again, just look in the description below this video on YouTube. Lay the left back lining over the left back dress, keeping right sides together. Stitch the strap and the zigzag to the back closure. Here's a closer look at what I mean by the zigzag stitches. We've already clipped this seam. Clip the back closure's corner like this. Okay, so you're just going to take one little snip there. And that's all I mean by clip the corner. We've already clipped in these other areas. Invert the left back garment piece. Fold the raw edges of the strap and the top inside. And that can be tricky to understand, so I'm trying to show you what I mean by that. I'm just taking those raw edges and folding them in toward the inside of the garment. Like between the lining and the outer fabric, you fold them in. Now whip stitch from the side of the garment to the clipped area, and then from the bottom of the strap up to the top of the strap. Again, if you need help with the whip stitch, I have a tutorial for that. Just look in the description area below. The back left garment piece should now look like this. Here's how it looks from the wrong side. Here's how it looks from the right side. Now let's work with the dress right back pieces. Clip the bottom arched area of the lining, just like we did with the previous lining. Baste these clipped bits to hold them in place. Lay the lining over the dress's right back piece. Remember to keep right sides together. Stitch down the strap to the clip's edge. Turn, sew along the top of the back, and turn again. Sew down the back closure area. I've been using a backstitch for this, but you could use a sewing machine. It's just very, very tiny. Once you've sewn down the back's lining, clip the corner, just like we did for the other side. And I've found, when I use my sewing machine for something this small, I have issues. So I prefer with something this tiny to just hand stitch. Invert the lining. I use a chopstick to help me when I'm inverting tiny pieces. And if you need a pair of chopsticks, there is a helpful link to some in the description area below. It's nice if they have ridges on the tip, and I try to link to some like the one I'm using. Just like we did before, you're going to fold in the edges of both the strap and the top of the dress. And again, I'm just showing you quickly how I do that. And now whip stitch to close this area off. Now you're done working with the dress right back, making two back pieces for the unfinished dress. Here's how they look from the wrong side. Lay one of these backs on top of the other, keeping your right sides together. Starting at the extension, pin the back of the dress together from the pointed bottom of the dress lining to the very bottom of the dress itself. Sew the back of the dress together and remove the pins. Open the back of the dress and press all of your seams. There should now be a slight overlap where we will eventually add snaps at the back of the dress. Set the back aside for a moment and let's work with the front piece. Fold the bottom of the front lining toward the wrong side of the fabric. Baste stitch along this folded edge. Lay the lining on top of the dress front, keeping right sides together. Sew down the inside of one strap, turning where you've clipped. Sew along the bottom of the neckline, turning where you've clipped again. Stitch up the inside of the other strap, and here's how it looks so far. Invert the lining. That's what I'm doing here, and I still use that chopstick to try and tighten up. Sometimes if you give it a twist, it will tighten up the way that it lays. Now it should look like this. Fold the area from strap to edge inside itself, like you see me doing here. And fold the side of the strap in as well. So this is similar to what we did with back lining and back final pieces. Here's a closer look at what we're doing. Whip stitch from the edge of the dress to the strap, and when you reach the bottom of the strap where you've clipped it, whip stitch up the strap as well, closing this off. Now you'll do the same with the other side of the dress front. Okay, now you'll need the dress back once again. Lay the front over the top of the back, keeping right sides together. Bring one pair of straps together and stitch them together right at the very top of the strap. Do the same with the other strap. Again, I'm using a back stitch here. Lay the dress out flat, wrong side up, and press the seam where the straps come together. Bring the two halves of the dress together again and pin from the top to the side slit. There's the side slit. Stop pinning where we've clipped that side slit. Sew from the top of the dress to the part where we clipped for the side slit, removing the pins as you go. It's important to leave the back closure area completely unsewn at the top. Pin from the top of the dress on the non-slit side to the bottom of the dress. Sew this side seam as well, removing your pins as you sew along. Clip these seams, invert the dress. Now where the side slit is meant to be, your dress will stick out strangely like this. Hem the side slit by folding toward the inside of the dress once and then a second time to create a double fold hem. Sorry it's so hard to see the black fabric. I actually took a few of these photos outdoors, hoping that that would help. Whip stitch to hem the side slit. When you reach the bottom of the dress, fold the bottom edge again once and then a second time. We're going to create another double fold hem along the very bottom of the dress. Whip stitch to hem the dress's very bottom edge. When you get to the other side of the side slit, continue to whip stitch, making sure that the two sides of the side slit will match up in terms of length, and that's why you see I've pinned right there. When you're confident that the slit sides will match, finish hemming up the other side slit. Add a few snaps in the back of this dress, and now you're ready to try it on a doll. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns for dolls of many shapes and all different sizes, please remember to visit my website, chellywood.com. Special thanks to everyone I met at the Big IANS conference in Chicago, especially Willow, whose graceful style and gentle nature inspired today's free pattern. As a near-death experiencer myself, I learned so much at the IANS conference. But best of all were the new friends I made. To learn more about IANS and near-death experiences in general, please click the links in the description area below this video. I'd also like to share some of the books that I love, which were offered at the IANS conference through Lisa's bookstore. One of my all-time favorites, of course, is Life After Life by Raymond Moody. He was the person who coined the term near-death experience and the first to study these. After is written by Dr. Bruce Grayson, who is literally a medical doctor who witnessed a person's near-death experience, and his story is wonderful and very scientific. And then my third favorite is The Light After Death, which is by Vincent Todd Tolman. Vinnie Tolman is an amazing public speaker. He really represents the concept of the near-death experience well. So I would recommend these books if you're curious.